Chapter 3. An opportunity for Pip. I always knew I would be apprenticed to Joe as soon as I was old enough. Apprenticed means a person who is learning a trade from a skilled employee, having agreed to work for a fixed period at low wages. کارآموز. I always knew I would be apprenticed to Joe as soon as I was old enough, and so I used to spend most of the day helping him in the forge.
Forge.
However, I also attended the village evening school, which was organized by an extant relation of Mr. Wupsel's. Her teaching mostly consisted of falling asleep while we children fought each other.
Fought.
Her teaching mostly consisted of falling asleep. درس دادن اون معمولاً شامل خوابیدن میشه، در حالی که ما بچه ها داریم با هم دعوا میکنیم. consisted متشکل. But Mr. Wupsel's young cousin Biddy tried to keep us under control and teach us to read, write and count. سعی میکنه که ما رو کنترل کنه، تحت کنترل داشته باشه و به همون خوندن، نوشتن و شمارش یاد بده. Mr. Wupsel examined us every 3 months. از همون هر 3 ماه از همون امتحان میگیره.
Examine.
In fact, he did not ask us any questions at all, but read aloud from Shakespeare, waving his arms dramatically and enjoying the sound of his own voice.
Dramatic.
در حقیقت اون هیچ سوالی از ما نمیپرسم. But read aloud from Shakespeare، اما با صدای بلند شکسپیر میخونه. Waving his arms dramatically، دستاش رو به صورت دراماتیک تکون میده. And enjoying the sound of his own voice، و از صدای خودش لذت میبره. One night about a year after the escaped convicts has been catch، یک شب، یک سال بعد از اینکه مجرمی که فرار کرده بود که به دام افتاد، I was sitting by the kitchen fire، کنار آتش نشسته بودم. Writing a letter to Joe، و یک نامه برای جو می نوشتم. I didn't need to because he was sitting right next to me, but I wanted to practice my writing. لازم نبود این کار بکنم چون که کنارم نشسته بود، اما میخواستم که نوشتنم تمرین کنم. After an hour or two of hard work, I passed this letter to him. یکی دو ساعت بعد از 1-2 ساعت کار سخت، کارنامه‌اش تمام شد. My dear Joe, I hope you are well. امیدوارم که خوب باشی. Soon I can teach you what I have learned. I can teach you. به زودی میتونم بهت چیزایی که یاد گرفتم و درس بدم. What fun Joe. Love Pip. What fun چه با نمک احتمال. Pip, old boy, cried Joe, opening his kind blue eyes very wide. چشمای آبیش رو خیلی باز کرد. What a lot you learned. Here's a J and an O. That's for Joe, isn't it, Pip? چقدر چیزهای زیاد یاد گرفتی. اینجا یه J و یه O وجود داره برای جو، اینطور نیست. I wondered whatever weather. I wondered whether I would have to teach Joe from the beginning, so I asked, how do you write Gargary Joe? میگه که شگفت‌زده بودم از اینکه میتونستم بهش از ابتدا بهش یاد بدم و همین ازش خواستم که چطوری گرگری نوشته میشه. I don't write it at all, said Joe. من اصلا نوشتم بلد نیستم. Bookmark this. I don't write it at all. من اصلا نوشتن بلد نیستم. But you know, اما میدونی I am found having an affection or liking for. شیفته. I am fond of reading. من شیفته خوندنم. Give me a good book or newspaper, a good fire. And I ask no more. Well, when you come to a J and an O, how interesting reading is. وقتی به یک J و B میرسی چقدر خواندن جذاب است. به اسم خودش منظورش. Didn't you ever go to school, Joe? تا حالا مدرسه نرفتی جو؟ When you were young, وقتی که جوان بودی. No, Pip, you see, my father drank a lot. پدرم به شدت می نوشید. And when he drank, و وقتی مست می کرد, he used to hit my mother. شروع می که به زدن مادر من. And me too. و همینطور من. گاهی اوقات. So she and I ran away from him several times. چندین بار از دستش فرار کردیم. And she used to say, no, Joe, you can go to school. و اون به من گفتش که نه تو میتونی به مدرسه. But my father had such a good heart that he didn't want to be without us. اما پدرم اینقدر قلب مهربونی داشت که نمیخواست بدون ما باشه. So he always come to find us and took us home and hit us. بر همین همیشه ما رو پیدا میکرد، ما رو میبرد خونه و میزد. So you see, Pip, I never learned much. بر همین من هیچ وقت یاد نگرفتم. Poor Joe. جوی بیچاره. But remember, Pip, my father had a good heart. Had a good heart. اما یاد باشه پیپ، پدر من یه قلب خوبی داشت. I wondered about that but said nothing. شگفت زده هم درباره این چیزی که گفت اما چیزی نگفت. He let me become a blacksmith. گذاشت که من یه آهنگر بشم. Which was his job too. که شغل خودش هم بود. Only he never worked at it. فقط هیچ وقت توش کار نکرده بود. I learned the money for the family until he died. Only he never worked at it. فقط اینکه هیچ وقت خودش آهنگری نمی‌کرد. And listen to this, Pip. I wanted to put this on his gravestone. میخوام که این رو سنگ قبرش بذارم. Whatever the fault he had from start, remember, reader, he had a good heart. هرچند که خطا کرد، از شروع خطا کرد، یادت باشه خوندن رو، اون یه قلب خوبی داشت. هر خطایی که از ابتدا داشت یادتان باشد ای خواننده، ریدر خطاب به ای خواننده است. هرچند که خطاهای زیادی از ابتدا داشت، قلب مهربانی داشت. Did you invent that yourself, Joe? Invent means
Invent.
create or design something that has not existed before. Be that originator of, invented and improved from the steam engine. اختراع کردن. Did you invent that yourself, Joe? I asked surprised. میگه که آیا تو اختراع کردی؟ دروغ بافی هم میشه. خودت این رو ساختی؟ از خودت ساختی؟ Did you invent that yourself? از خودت در بردی اینا رو؟ I did, said Joe proudly. جو با افتخار گفت بله. It came to me in a moment. یه لحظه اینا اومد تو ذهنم. From my own head. But Pip, sad to say, there wasn't enough money for the gravestone. اما ناراحت کننده اینه که پول کافی واسه یه سنگ قبر رو نداشتیم. My poor mother needed it in bad health. She died soon after. Found peace at last. مادر پیرم هم احتیاج داشت بهش در یک سلامتی بد، در یک حال جسمی بد. در حالی که حال جسمی بدی داشت، she died soon، خیلی زود بعد از اون مردش. Found peace at least. Found peace at least. بالاخره به آرامش رسید. Found peace at last. Joe's blue eyes were watery. چشمان آبی جو خیس شد. I was lonely then and I met your sister. تنها بودم و خواهرت رو دیدم. No Pip. Joe looked firmly. Joe looked firmly at me. Because he knew I was not going to agree with him. Firmly means محکم. محکم من محکم نگاه کردن که خیلی جدی. جو خیلی جدی من نگاه کرد. Because he knew I was not going to agree with him. به خاطر اینکه میدونست که باش موافق نیستم. Your sister is a fine woman. خواهر تو یک زن خیلی خوبه. یک زن خوبه. I could think of nothing better to say than I'm glad you think so, Joe. چیزی بهتر از این پیدا نکردم که بهش بگم که باعث افتخاره جو. خوشحالم اینطور فکر میکنین جو. So am I, said Joe. I'm glad. I think so. Very kind of her. So am I. من هم همینطور فکر کنم. من هم افتخار میکنم. Very kind of her. به خاطر مهربانی که داره. او خیلی لطف کرد. Bringing you up by hand. تو رو با دستانش بزرگ کرد. Such a tiny baby you were. زمانی که خیلی بچه بودی و کوچیک بودی. So when I offered to marry your sister, وقتی که پیشنهاد دادم که با خواهرت ازدواج کنم, I said and bring the poor little child to live with us. و بچه کوچک فقیرم رو و بچه کوچک بینوایت رو بیاور با ما زندگی. گفتم I said and bring the poor little child to live with us. There is room for him at the forge. یک اتاق توی محل آهنگری وجود داره. I put my arms around Joe's neck and cried into his shirt. دستانم رو دور گردن جو حلقه کردم و روی لباسش گریه کردم. Don't cry old boy. گریه نکن پسر. Old boy پسر پیر. He said always the best of friends. You and me. من و تو همیشه بهترین دوستان میمونیم. As I dried my tears. As I dried. Past and past participle of dry. Dry means free form, not wet or moist. Moist. I dried my tears. Tears means
tear.
Tear means a hole or split in something caused by it having been pulled apart forcefully. I dried my tears, he continued. So, here we are, Peep. Now, if you teach me a bit, and I warn you, know that I'm very stupid. Mrs. Joe must never know. اگر به من یک مقدار یاد میدی و من بهت هشدار میدم که من خیلی احمق هستم، خانم جو نباید متوجه این بشه. And why? Because she likes to be in charge. به خاطر اینکه اون دوست داره در متهم کردن باشه، دائما متهم کنه افراد رو. A price asked for goods or service means responsibility for the care or control of someone or something. دوست داره که کنترل کنه. Because she likes to be in charge, giving the orders. Joe, I ask, why don't you ever rebel? Rebel means a person who races in opposition or armed resistance against an established government or leader. شورشی.
Rebel.
Why don't you ever rebel? چرا تا حالا شورش نکردی؟ Well, said Joe, to start with, your sister's clever and I'm nuts. اولیش اینه که خواهر تو باهوشه و من نیستم. And another thing, and this is serious, old boy. When I think of my poor mother's hard life, I'm afraid of not behaving right to a woman. و دومیش هم اینه که اگه بخوایم جدی باشیم، وقتی من فکر میکنم که به زندگی سخت مادرم فکر میکنم، از رفتار بد با یک زن میترسم. So I'd much rather seem a bit weak. I much rather seem with Mrs. Joe and then shot at her or hurt her or hit her. So I'd much rather seem a bit weak. یکم ضعیف به نظر میام در برابر خانم جو than shot her که بخوام اونو بزنم، بهش صدمه بزنم یا سرش داد بزنم. I'm just sorry she called you as well. خیلی معذرت میخوام که اون called as you سرزنش میکنه، دائما طور سرزنش میکنه پیپ. And hits you with the stick و با چوب میزنتت. I wish I could take all this calling myself. امیدوارم که بتونم تمام این سرزنش ها رو خودم بگیرم. But there اما تا موقع وجود داره دیگه. ای کاش خودم میتوانستم تمام سرزنش ها رو بگیرم، ولی الان اینجوری. Just then we heard the sound of a horse on the road. سپس ما صدای یک اسب رو توی جاده شنیدیم. Mrs. Joe and Uncle Pumblechook were returning from market. خانم جو و عمو پامپلچوک از مارکت برگشتن، از بازار برگشتن. The carriage arrived. Carriage means The carriage arrived, and in a rush of cold air, they were in the kitchen. Rush means a sudden quick movement towards something. No, said Mrs. Joe.
Excitedly.
No, said Mrs. Joe excitedly, throwing off her cloak. ردا عبا شنل. Throwing off her clothes. با هیجان عباشو در ورد. If this boy isn't grateful tonight, he never will be. اگر این پسر امشب خوب نشه هیچ وقت نمیشه. She's offering the boy a great opportunity. Agreed Pumblechook. پامپلچوک با موافقت گفتش که اون یه فرصت خوب به این پسر پیشنهاد داد. Trying to look grateful. سعی کرد که خوب به نظر برسه. I looked at Joe. به جو نگاه کردم. Making the word she with my lips. کلمه او رو با لبم شکل دادم، در آوردم. He clearly did not know either. خیلی شفاف نفهمید. You were speaking of a she, he said politely to him.
Politely.
You were speaking در مورد اون صحبت میکنی. Politely to them. با مؤدبانه بهش گفت. She is she, I suppose. Mrs. Joe replied crossly. اونه. خانم جو با ترشی جواب داد آن زن یک زن است. فکر میکنم دونی که شما دوشیزه شما یک مرد صدا. Mrs. Joe replied crossly means به ترش روی. Annoyed. Unless you call Miss Havisham a he, and even you wouldn't do that. The rich Miss Havisham who lives all alone in the big house in town asked Joe. همون خانومی که همون خانوم هاویشامی که تنها توی مرکز شهر زندگی میکنه، توی خونه بزرگ. There aren't any other Miss Havisham that I know of. She wants a boy to go and play there. من دیگه خانم هاویشامی نمیشناسم که بخواد، دیگه خانم هاویشامی نمیشناسم. اون میخواد یه بچه پسر میخواد که بره و باش بازی کنه. She asked Uncle Pumpelchook if he know of anyone, and Uncle Pumpelchook, thinking of us as he always does, suggested this boy. از عمو خواستش که یه نفر معرفی کنه و عمو هم فکر کرد که ما همیشه داریم دیگه، ما همیشه یه پیشنهاد داریم، میتونیم پسر پیشنهاد بدیم. And what's more, Uncle Pumpelchook, realizing that this boy fortune بخت.
Apprentice. Ancient, ancient. Forge, forge.
Fight, fight.
Convict.
Convict.
Convict. Invent. Proudly. Proudly.
Lonely, lonely.
Firmly, firmly.
Dried, dried.
Tear, tear.
Rebel, rebel. Shout, shout.
Scold. Scold.
Carriage, carriage. Excitedly, excitedly.
Politely. Politely.
Crossly,
Fortune, fortune.
Carriage,